Let's get all sophisticated and shit. I still don't know what I'm doing, but we're going to keep going. Today, we're going to go over The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. It's quite a large book, about 771 pages, and let's just get right into it. All right, so first, let's start with a little bit about the book, the author, and some of the background behind it. The book itself is The Goldfinch. The author's Donna Tartt. Now, The Goldfinch was published in 2013, but Donna Tartt has two other novels, The Secret History and The Little Friend. Secret History was published in 1992. The Little Friend was published in 2002. The Goldfinch was published in 2013. The most prolific work, I think, by Donna Tartt is The Secret History. It's a pretty fantastic book. It's kind of the reason why I actually ended up picking up The Goldfinch, because I thought that it was great, and why not keep going with an author that you like? So The Goldfinch actually won a Pulitzer Prize, which is very conspicuously placed on the front cover for everybody to see. I don't know what the Pulitzer Prize is, to be honest, but I've heard it a bunch, so must mean that it's good, which the book is pretty good, so take that for what it's worth. With that being said, let's get into the book. Now we're going to start off with a little bit of a opening, describing what the book opens with, kind of gets you into the story, and then I'll give you a spoiler card or something so that you know that I'm getting into the meat and potatoes of the book, or whatever. I don't know. There's no meat and potatoes in the book. Actually, there is, but you know what I'm saying. So, cold open. We get our main character in a room, confused, sad, reminiscing about his life, having a dream about his mother, and you're just like, oh my God, holy shit, what the fuck's going on? You don't know, obviously. You're like a page and a half into the book. Then, immediately, next chapter starts with, my mom's dead. Tragic, truly. And we kind of get into how that happened, how our main character, Theodore Deckler, blames himself for the situation in which his mother unfortunately passed. He got suspended for smoking cigarettes. So he has to go into school and talk to whoever the principal with his mother. But they have some time to kill in the morning before their meeting, so they go to the museum. Now, unfortunately, at this museum, some shit goes down. There's a terrorist attack. Now, Theo, we'll call him Theo. Theo's over by the gift shop, and he sees a girl with red hair with an old man that kind of has a hunch, not a hunch, but kind of a lean. He's very interested in them. He doesn't actually have the confidence to go up and talk to them. He's thinking about it when, boom, shit goes down. Fire, explosion, ash, this, that, and the other. He comes to, and he sees this old man that was with the little girl smashed by something. Maybe I should have put the spoiler alert a little bit sooner, but fuck it. Yeah. He sees this old dude smashed, and he has like a heart-to-heart moment with this dude, and the dude like points at something and then gives him his ring and tells him to go to this one very specific place what the main character thinks that this old dude is going and pointing at him to go get is a painting. Now he's a kid. He's in middle school. So also he just got blown up. So he grabs a painting. Why not? Because fuck it. Grabs a painting, starts going through the museum where he was at, trying to get out. He gets out and goes home, waiting for his mother. Unfortunately, she never comes home, and he ends up getting visited by some social workers and goes to a friend's house. Now, this friend is Andy Barber. Now, the Barbers are a very important part of this book. You have Andy Barber. I don't know their fucking names, dude. Fucking give me a second. Andy Barber, the two little siblings, the oldest sibling, Platt Barber, who's off at college, and Mama Barber and Dad Barber. Now, that'll come into play later. I'd say right now is about when I'd say, spoiler alert. Now, when he's living at the barber's, he has this ring from this man that gave it to him in the museum. Nobody knows about it. Nobody knows about the painting that he stole. Nobody knows about this painting that he stole. So eventually he works up the courage to go visit this place with the ring that he got. Now, when he gets to this place, he meets Hobby. Hobby is a sweetheart down to the core. He's opens the door and he's like, "What? Who are you, dude?" He's like, "Bro, your boy. He gave me this ring. I'm giving it back to you." Now, Hobby's obviously ecstatic about this. His friend, his coworker, his partner, Welty. Welty had given him the ring, and Theo goes and takes it back and gives it to Hobby. Hobby is just so excited that he met this little boy that was with his friend during the end of his life. Now, Theo he's a little bit nervous, but he comes to find out that the girl that was in the museum with Welty survived. Now, she got exploded too. Her head is half shaven. She's kind of bedridden, and they have a little moment together, and he's super happy about it. He goes home, and we're living at the barber's for a little while. He goes and visits Hobby a few times, and then when he is just kind of getting used to and getting excited about being in the place that he's at, his dad shows up. Now, his dad, kind of garbage. His dad left his mom about a year or so prior, and he hasn't seen him since. Didn't speak to him, didn't speak to either of them. Just, went out and got some milk and never came back. But his dad goes ahead and takes him to Las Vegas. City of Sinners. City of Sins? Sinners? And in Vegas, the main character, Theo, he makes a friend. Now, his friend, who is kind of wild, is a Russian boy named Boris. Now, Boris, like him at this point, stays at home, goes to school, stays at home, but his dad is out away working all the time. So he kind of has free reign over whatever he wants to do, whenever he wants to do it, however he wants to do it. So, what do? You get plastered all the time. They start getting plastered every day. They're drinking, smoking weed, just having a grand old time. And when you're reading this book, you're like, Jesus, this is a kid. He's like going down a very, very slippery slope. bad things are going to happen. He's going to turn into a bad person. But then, if you think about it, if you were wild in high school, which I was a little bit wild in high school, you can kind of relate. You don't know what you want to do. You're just kind of floating along, and you're having a good time. And that's what he was doing. He was having a good time. There are some mishaps. His father is actually a gambler that gambles to make his money. Now, unfortunately, after a couple of years living like this, his dad actually tries to steal money from him, tries to pull out loans under his social security number, tries to take the money that his mom had put aside for him. And this results in his dad, who is in a tremendous amount of debt, getting into a drunk driving accident. Now, once again, he's an orphan, but he's been through this before. So he decides, let's ball. And he runs. He bolts. Literally the same night that he finds out that his dad is dead. He goes all the way back to New York. Now, I'm glazing over a lot of key details here, but we're going to try not to make this a super long video. I was doing my notes and I was like, damn, this is going to be long, but hopefully not. I'm going to chop it up. Yeah, so he runs home. He tries to go back to the barber's, but unfortunately, Papa Barber is kind of a maniac. He has some mental health issues, and when he, out of sheer luck, runs into the Mr. Barber in the street, he loses his shit on him. He's like, "No more handouts, kid." Now, he is still a kid, and he freaks out. He's like, "Oh my God, I literally have nowhere to go. And these people don't want me back because I'm so useless. I'm just such a waste. They're putting all of these resources into me, and I'm just like a beggar." So where does he go? He goes back to Welty's. When he gets to Welty's, luckily, Welty is just ecstatic to see him, and he's a little bit rough. He's kind of stinky. He's kind of dirty, and he's super sick. Like, just like caught a cold. So after a couple days, he spends getting better, and he finds out that Pippa, the little girl that he met in the theater and at Welty's in the first place, is there visiting. So he is super excited. He just absolutely loves being around this girl. So at this point, he's living with Welty, and he has a lawyer, and the lawyer is trying to get him to get into a private school and move out of Welty's, because really, if you look at it from an outside point of view, it is just a little kid that decided to go live with a random dude that nobody even really knows how he met. So at this point, let's fast forward a bunch of time, like years, like 8 years, I think. I'm not 100% sure. Theo didn't prove himself some sort of academic savant, but he decided that he didn't care about school because he knew what he wanted to do. He wanted to run the antique store with Welty. Welty has an antique store. Didn't say that earlier, but it's true. So he decides to run this antique store with Welty, and he gets really good, and he's being really good with customers. But unfortunately, by the time we get back into the story, he's already started making some mistakes. He's taken these pieces of furniture that Welty has restored and selling them for crazy amounts of money that they're not worth. He's selling them as authentic antique pieces when really they're just Mod Podges of stuff that Welty threw together in the basement. Now, Welty doesn't know this, and he doesn't tell Welty because Welty would think that it's wrong, which it is. Unfortunately, he sells a piece of furniture to the wrong guy. Now, throughout this book, Theo is completely obsessed with this painting that he stole. He hangs on to it. It's like a remembrance of his mother, and it soothes him, and it's kind of like his life force. Now, when he came back from Las Vegas, he brought it with him. He put it in a storage, and he never opened it because, you go to jail if you steal paintings. So this guy that he sold this fake furniture to figures it out. He pieces it together, and he figures out that Theo stole the piece of art. So what does he do? He tries to blackmail him. He tries to say, Theodore, I know you stole that art. You could just sell it to me. No. Deny, deny, deny. It kind of works. Not really, because this guy, Lucius Reeves, keeps sending him letters saying, I know what you did. You can't just ignore me. Somebody else is going to figure it out. But he played his hand already. He can't go to the authorities because then he couldn't get the painting. So Theo decides to just ignore him. Now, at this point, he ends up running into Platt, the oldest Barber brother. Now he runs into Platt and he's like, oh, wow, this guy kind of doesn't look like he turned out to be much. And he starts talking with them, and Platt, while he's talking to Theo, is like, yeah, well, the thing that happened, I'm sure you heard. And Theo's like, the thing that happened? What happened? Andy died in a sailing accident with his dad. Now, there's some hints to this throughout the beginning of the book. Andy is terrified of water. He hates sailing. So it's just a complete shock that he died in a boat with his dad. So from this, he ends up going to visit Miss Barber. And Miss Barber, who was an affluent socialite when he was young, has turned into a hermit. She stays in her house. She doesn't really do much, at all. She stays in her room. And when he goes and visits her, she lights up because she loves Theo, because he was a good kid. And he had been down on his luck when she had taken him in, and she just lights up when she sees him. Now, they do dinner, they have a good time, and he ends up taking out the little sister, which isn't weird. Okay? Ends up taking Kitsy, the youngest sister, or the only girl in the family, out on a date. And eventually they get engaged and they're going to marry. But before this happens, Theo is on his way to go try to score some pills because at this point he has an addiction. But when he's out looking, he runs into his buddy, Boris, from Las Vegas. Now, they hadn't talked in years, and Boris comes up to him, and they're having a grand old time. But at the end of the night, Boris sits him down and is like, I'm sorry. Do you hate me? Theo has absolutely no idea what Boris is talking about. And they go back and forth, and Boris finally gets to the point that he stole the painting. This life force that Theo had been living off of for years, that he had in a storage that nobody knew about, that he was hiding and keeping for himself. Boris had actually stolen it before he left Las Vegas. Now, Theo is just completely and utterly, shocked at this revelation. And he goes over to his storage facility, and he tears open his container and he looks, and it's a textbook. Now, at this point, this is where I'm starting to get pissed off, because Theo wants his painting back. Now, in my head, I'm saying to myself, aren't you getting blackmailed for that painting? You don't have the painting. This dude literally doesn't have a leg to stand on. He could get you searched. He could call the police if he wants. You don't got the dang painting. Theo doesn't see it that way. He wants his painting back. So him and Boris, they are like getting back together, being buddies. And Boris is like, I think I know where it is. And I'll tell you if I find out. And well, I'm going to get you your painting back because it was shitty what I did. And it's fair and square. I'm going to give it to you. It's yours. I made a lot of money off of it. I know it was wrong. And Theo, he's like, yeah, he doesn't say nothing. He doesn't say, I'm getting blackmailed. This guy wants painting, but now that I don't have it, whatever. No, he wants his painting back. He, however, is about to get married to Kitsy. This is a few days before Christmas. They have a party. And at this party, Boris shows up and he says, Theo, we got to go right now. Now, Theo's at his party and he's confused. He doesn't know what Boris is doing there. He didn't expect him to show up. He had told him about it, but he didn't expect him to show up. But Boris convinces him, says, come on, we have to go right now. So he goes outside, gets in a limo, and Boris is like, all right, we're going to Amsterdam. You thought I was going to tell you the ending? No. You got to find that out for yourself. Pick you up a copy and let's get to the wrap up. What do I rate this book? I'd give it a 3.5 out of 5. Why do I give it a 3.5 out of 5? Because honestly, the pacing is a little bit long-winded. So I'd be sitting here reading it and I'd just be kind of wondering when the plot's going to start to get going. And the first, 300 pages is about Theo when he's a kid. So you're like waiting, because the cold open puts you in adult Theo's shoes and some crazy predicament that you don't know what's going on. And then I finally got into like the parts where Theo is grown up and stuff is happening. But still at that point, I would read it. And then I'd get bored and I'd put it down. But when I picked it back up, the plot, moving scenes would only be a few pages away. And I mentioned that because it happened 3 or 4 times. So I think the pacing could have maybe been a little bit better, but I might just have a goldfish attention span, which might be fair, but it is what it is. Also, yeah, Theo, he kind of sucks. You do feel bad for him because obviously he's a victim of a tragedy and he's been tossed around in life and he just really doesn't know what's going on. But he's not a great person. Now, that being said, you can relate to Theo because he is trying. He makes bad decisions. He makes self-destructive decisions. And you want him to be better. And it seems like at the end of the book that he is on, his path to be a better man. Finally, let's go over some of the things that are like really central to this book. Theo is lost. Like he just gets completely blindsided when he's in a very developmental time in his life and he really doesn't know what to do. And he's trying, but he doesn't really have a goal that he's searching for. He's just kind of floating through the world, which I think is pretty common with a lot of us. Theo is completely obsessed with this picture, this painting throughout the entire book. And he finally comes to terms with that and he realizes that the painting isn't his life force, that he, can live without it. And he isn't defined by the painting, I guess I might say. I mean, I said it, so fuck it. And then just the reckless behavior of Theo is, it isn't forgivable, right? Because he is a person and he is responsible for his decisions. But the first couple hundred pages kind of give you the background and the reason why he can't help from making these decisions. So you do have to take him for what he is. Even though he makes bad decisions, he isn't necessarily a bad person. And with that, I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I don't know if I said that, but that's all I got for you guys. Hopefully this isn't a crazy long video. And I don't have any sponsors, so let's go ahead and end this with a shameless plug. Do some charity work. You know, donate to the dog shelter. Go walk dogs for the dog shelter. Donate to the homeless shelter. Don't walk the homeless people. That's weird. But yeah, people get down in this world and got to do your part to help them get back up. See you next time.